we may as well start it off with the way that it started off. Ken Wiebe opened up, and Weber simply asked him about signing the qualifying offer and being back as of now on a one-year deal with the Winnipeg Jets for next season.
Yeah, well, after the season ended, me and my agent started talking, and different situations, different scenarios, and we felt that at this time the 1 year deal, I think was the way we wanted to go. And you hear so many things of things that I apparently said or I apparently did, and a lot of it is frustrating to read some things that I didn't even know I did, or that I didn't do or didn't say. But at this time, the 1 year deal, the qualifying offer was the way we wanted to go. There's never a doubt of holding out or forcing anything. You read stuff that, he wants out of Winnipeg. If I wanted out of Winnipeg, I would have asked for a trade. I didn't ask for a trade. There was no doubt in my mind I was going to show up to camp. Once we figured out the 1 year deal was the way to go, we were just waiting for the qualifying offer and then waiting for that. And, then we signed that, and now I'm going to camp and excited to meet everybody, the new coaching staff, the new players, talk to coach, Saturday or Sunday. And I'm just really excited to get it going this year.
All right. So there was the first answer from Pierre-Luc Dubois, a question, a very simple question from Ken Wiebe as to how it came about that, the 1 year deal was the right answer. Now, I mean, he did immediately get to some things that obviously were bothering him, that, maybe some of the things that have been said in certain parts of the media, he didn't believe were exactly true. Well, he certainly had the opportunity to clarify that, and I guess you can be the judge for yourself whether he did that or not. Weber did follow up, though, and asked him something that I think all Winnipeg Jets fans wanted some clarity to, and that is if Pierre-Luc Dubois is open to a long-term commitment with the Winnipeg Jets.
Are you open then to a longer-term relationship with the Jets after this contract is up?
Yeah, after this contract's up, then we'll deal with it. And the 1 year deal, now my job is to play hockey again. When you don't have a contract, you're a free agent, but now that I have a contract, I'm a Winnipeg Jet, and I'm really looking forward to playing this year, because last year was a disappointing year for the team, and we have a lot of the same guys this year. And my whole focus right now is, as we speak right now, I worked out this morning, was to get ready this morning, and tomorrow I'm going back in the gym, and the rest of the summer will just to concentrate on getting ready for training camp and to prepare for this year.
All right, so there's Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, the one thing that he didn't say there was yes. I mean, I understand this was difficult for him. His agent, I'm sure, and I'm probably the Winnipeg Jets felt that this was necessary to go and meet the media and try and clear the air a little bit about where he and his camp is after signing this deal and heading into next season. But Remo, I don't know about you. I mean, it's impossible to not talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois and his situation with the Winnipeg Jets right now without keeping a keen eye on what's happened 2 provinces west in Calgary, where, if you had conversations with Matthew Tkachuk last year at this time, if he was on a 1 year deal, he had 1 year left, and of course he had a $9 million qualifying offer. I'm sure he would have said similar things. I'm focused on this year going forward. I didn't get a lot of optimism that, for all the things that have been reported and said, that one of the things that hadn't been said is Pierre-Luc Dubois is open to a long-term contract. He had plenty of opportunities to say exactly that, and I never heard it.
He was asked a number of times, is he, about a long-term, and he evaded the answer every time, including there. And I was trying to remember, why are we even talking about this at all? And it was like, why is this, what are all the rumors and speculation that he keeps bringing up? And I was like, oh yeah, it was during the Stanley Cup playoffs and intermission. Elliot Friedman reported during the first intermission of Game 4 during the Stanley Cup final, so everyone saw it, that he informed the Winnipeg Jets that his current plan was to test unrestricted free agency when eligible in the summer of 2024. So I think, people want to hear clarity on that. And if he came out and said, I have told them, I think you would understand that. But the repeated, non-answers, and we can get to a couple more questions. I think I'm going to put a poll in to see what other people think. But yeah, doesn't seem like he is even open to considering signing with the Jets. Going by in Calgary, where Huberdeau and Weegar met the media today, and the clips I'm seeing on Twitter from them are, oh yeah, they would at least consider it. And I'm not sure if I heard that. I just heard what I kind of predicted. I'm focused on this season. I'm a Winnipeg Jet today. I've been working out all summer, and I'm trying to do my best. And that's what he's going to say. But it's every time he's asked about long term, he was kind of like.
Well, and again, we'll play some more of it, and people can have some questions. Richard Bennett says, I understand this was difficult for him, quoting me. Hustler says, but seriously, he's in a position where he doesn't have to commit to a team that could sink. Why commit then? No problem. But I mean, just say that. Just say, I'm going to see how things go. I'm not sure. And he sort of did get to that a little later on. But I mean, as Michael Remus said, I mean, this whole situation, which has been great for us, all the extra people in here, everyone talking about this and talking about the Jets and talking about BLD all week. This was entirely their own doing. I mean, it sure as hell wasn't the Jets that were leaking to Elliot Friedman that Dubois was planning on testing unrestricted free agency. And it was Dubois' own agent that got everyone going in Quebec when he spoke as openly as he did with the media there. So, I mean, this is a self-inflicted wound, if you will, if that is what it is, and that's the way it's being perceived by Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I mean, what the hell are Winnipeg fans supposed to think when this has sort of been what's coming up? And this is what I think a lot of people had hoped that would sort of have the air cleared today. And I guess in some ways it did. And the other thing I'll say just to that point, and he might not say yes to, I would consider a long-term deal, but a lot can change over the course of a year. First of all, he could be traded, and we're not even having this conversation anymore. And I think that's still probably highly likely. But maybe the team, and he in particular, has a great season, feels comfortable here. And I mean, it absolutely could be a different story at the end of the year. But right now, there is great questions about Pierre-Luc Dubois' long-term future, and I don't know how it could be any other way, considering what's happened over the last little while. Kelly Moore was next up. Kelly asked him about the story of him being at the draft. Certainly was reported that he was there with family, thinking or expecting that he would be traded to the Montreal Canadiens. And he also asked if he intends to test unrestricted free agency, which didn't really get answered. But here's Dubois responding to Kelly Moore regarding the NHL draft in Montreal.
Pierre-Luc, you mentioned to Ken that there were some things that you apparently did or that were reported on that you allegedly did. Can you expand on some of those? And for sure, is there any accuracy in you having informed the Jets, whether it's directly or through your agent, that you intend to go to the free agent market when you're eligible in the summer of 2024?
I mean, I read some things. It's funny. It's frustrating sometimes to read them, but, I saw a thing. It's like, I went to the draft thinking that I was going to get traded. I went to the draft because I live 15 minutes from the arena. I'm a fan of hockey. My bank invited me. They had a box with food and dinner, and, it was a Thursday night. It's an entertaining night. I mean, I'm a fan of hockey. I used to go to drafts when I was a kid. I spent half the night with my dad, and he spent half the night with the organization. If I was invited to go with the Jets, I would have gone with them. But I got invited by my bank, so I went with the bank. You hear stuff that I wanted out of Winnipeg. If I wanted out, like I said, I would have asked for a trade. I didn't ask for a trade, not for 1 second. It didn't cross my mind for a second to ask for a trade. So you just see these things, and nowadays with social media. It goes so fast. Articles come out every second, and some of them are 99% wrong, and you still read it and you still wonder if it's true. So there's been a lot of speculation. So now I'm finally happy that you guys get to hear it from me, from the source, the man himself.
All right, so there was a little bit on the stories around him attending the draft. Nothing to do with the potential trade. He was just there enjoying a nice spread in a private box with his bank, and got a chance to say hi to Dad, who was there as well as part of the Winnipeg Jets congregation. So Kelly did take another crack at it to see if he intends to get to unrestricted free agency. This is how that attempt went.
To go back again, Pierre-Luc, is it accurate that you or your representation has informed the Jets that you would like to test the free agent market when you become eligible to do so in the summer of 2024?
Yeah, we talked with the team. We had conversations, and like I said, I thought that the best thing was to do the 1-year deal, a qualifying offer, and now that's taken care of. My contract is signed. I'm ready to go for the season, and next summer will be next summer. I mean, next summer, I'll be a restricted free agent again, and then it'll be another decision. But for now, I don't have to think about this anymore. It's been on my, you try not to think about it because you can't control it. All I could do is play this year and to the best I could, and then let my agent and the team talk. But it's still your life, so you still think about it a lot. Now it's signed. Now there's no more thinking about that. Now it's just getting ready for the season.
All right, so there was another crack. Shout out to Kelly Moore for asking it directly as possible. And listen, as I said, and Dubois mentioned later on that he wasn't looking forward to this. I mean, you're 24 years old. You got 25 or 30 media from both Winnipeg and Montreal. There's been so much talk about his situation. I mean, it's probably uncomfortable. But at the same time, I'm not really too sure how much more he was able to or did succeed in clarifying what the position is with the Winnipeg Jets. It certainly sounds like, from my perspective, unrestricted free agency and making his own choice is what they're doing. And personally, I'd far rather just hear that than beating around the bush. But from the Winnipeg Jets standpoint, I think they're quite comfortable going into this season with Dubois signed on a 1-year deal, and they'll do what's best for the team. But I think it's quite clear that what's best for the team is going to involve a trade at some point if they can't get his name on a long-term contract. And as of right now, we're certainly not hearing a lot of things that would make Jet fans optimistic that he'll be staying here long term. Now, as we mentioned before, where all of this came from was entirely from the Dubois camp. I mean, it was the leak to Friedman, and then it, of course, was the comments of Pat Brisson, some of the things that we'd heard happening in and around the draft. And Mike McIntyre asked Pierre-Luc Dubois if he knew Brisson was going to make the comments that he did that started so many of these conversations out of Montreal.
I'm just wondering, when your agent made those comments, was that something you were aware he was going to say? And I guess, do you feel like comments like that maybe add some fuel to the fire and maybe box the Winnipeg Jets into a bit of a corner?
I think, when you're a free agent, I'm sitting at home watching TV, working out, not doing much. My agent, when you're a free agent, you can talk to teams. You can talk to multiple teams. You can talk to any team you want. I think, to be honest, I saw the comments that he made. I think people are blowing them out of proportion. I think people took a little thing and blew it up times 20. And it's fine. Everybody can read into it what they want. To be honest, I didn't think anything too much of it. I think, what's said sometimes and what actually happens and what's actually being said, in these meetings can be taken out of context. And that's how I see it. I mean, yeah, I just thought it was overblown, the reaction. And I think some people just ran with the 2-second that they liked or didn't like to hear.
I mean, I got news for PLD. He might have thought that was taken out of context and blown out of proportion. But when we talk to the likes of Dave Poulin. We heard John Shannon on OB this week. I mean, this just simply doesn't happen, especially with respected agents like Pat Brisson, who are as experienced as they are, of throwing things like that out on a RFA with 2 years left, just casually. Frankly, I mean, you know what happens, especially in Montreal. So, I mean, I guess Pierre-Luc Dubois can think that way, but I'm sorry, that doesn't jive with probably the way most of the general public and Winnipeg Jet fans, and I'm sure the organization as well, thought when they heard that coming from Pat Brisson. Now, Murat had a couple good ones. He asked first about just the concept of team control, and Dubois said, hey, he knows what the rules are. He has no issues with the rules. That is what it is. But then Murat asked him very directly about not really answering these questions clearly and fueling speculation himself. This is a very interesting back and forth. This is how it sounded.
Do you, in your chair now, when asked, do you plan on testing unrestricted free agency? You don't really say yes or no. Do you plan on having a long-term relationship with the Winnipeg Jets? You don't really say you're at yes or no. You sort of back to the future being a few different options and all that sort of stuff. Do you realize now that you're adding to the speculation that you sort of speak to not really enjoy or not want by not being able to give a clear answer to that?
Yeah, and I understand that, and I understand that it's your guys' job at the same time. And when I don't give you much, it's easier to speculate on what I want and what I don't want. Like I saw the thing where, you said that I went to the draft in hopes that I was going to get traded. Was false. But I'm just happy now that, we can speak about it, and I can try to clear things up, to the best I can. But, this 1 year deal is the way that we thought we should go. And I know next summer we're going to have the same questions, and we're probably going to we could be having the same call next summer, but that's next summer. For now, my mind is just getting ready on the season, and to meet the coaching staff, to meet the new guys on the team, to get ready. Last year was a disappointing year. So really, really looking forward. I think we have a good team. I said it last year and I'll say it again. I'm just excited to get back to Winnipeg and to have try to have a good year.
All right, so there's a little bit more Pierre-Luc Dubois from his media availability earlier today. I mean, the one thing that I did take out of it, he certainly seems to have a good attitude about the upcoming season. Said that he had a great conversation with Rick Bowness, is legitimately excited to get back with the guys and try and be a much better team than last year. And in the short term, that is great. I mean, you certainly don't want to have an outwardly unhappy player, and that doesn't seem to be the case. And you damn well sure you want to have a very motivated player, and a guy like Dubois in his situation coming in on a 1 year deal should be exactly that. Now, to his point, whether we're going to hear this same song and dance next year, I have a feeling the answer to that is no. I think there'll be some clarity one way or the other. And if the Winnipeg Jets, whether he plays out the entire season, find out that, the situation is still the same and he's looking to become an unrestricted free agent, at that point, even more so than right now, much like we saw in Jacob Trouba's case with 1 year left of team control, that a deal was made. Rio, grab number 10 first, because I know we're sort of focusing in on some of the answers that, he had a tough time saying or basically didn't really answer. But he did talk about meeting Rick Bowness. And, I'll say this. I mean, I did think that he was upbeat when he spoke about the upcoming season. He mentioned that he was excited to get back on the ice. Yes, there's been no commitment long-term. And yes, there's been certainly a lot of things around the situation that might suggest that he's on the verge of having 1 foot out the door if he doesn't already. But looking ahead in the short term to next season, assuming that Dubois is back, it's going to be very important that he and everyone else is on board with the new head coach. We had a great conversation with Rick Bowness on Friday's show. If you missed that, check it out. It's also available as a standalone on the YouTube channel. But here's Dubois talking about meeting with Rick Bowness in his conversation with the new head coach.
Oh, it went well. We talked to him at the beginning of the summer, then talked to him on Saturday, I'm pretty sure. Found out that the first time I talked to him, I was in Cape Breton, and he told me he lived there. So when he was a kid for a few years, so It's a small one. When I was there, it's funny. Everybody was talking to me about him, and it's a community where everybody's close knit. So they're all telling me stories about when they're kids and they remembered. But it was a good call. I talked about to be ready for camp and to be excited for this season and to try to add to my game and to become the best player that I can become. And I was excited. I think everybody on our team, talking to the guys on our team, everybody's excited. Everybody's excited for this season. We know we have the expectations for us are high, and we'll try to enjoy it as much as we can.
All right, so there's Dubois on his conversation with Rick Bowness and excitement for the upcoming season. Just before we bring in Ted Wyman, I do want to get a clip of Ted's colleague, Scott Billick, who had a couple questions, but I got to give Scott a lot of credit. This one is 12, Remo. After a number of attempts at talking about his UFA status and not really getting an answer, Scott Billick came out and I think asked what a lot of people were saying is why it was so hard to get essentially a straight answer on some of these questions.
These questions, are fairly straightforward that you're getting. I'm just maybe wondering why they're difficult to answer then. Like, if you want to play in Montreal, why is it hard to just say, I want to play in Montreal or whatever? If I want to test free agency in 2 years, why not just say I want to test free agency in 2 years? Maybe I'm just trying to understand why you're trying to, maybe skirting around them a little bit.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure you've at some point changed your mind or not been sure about something in your life, and who knows, a year later, maybe 6 months later, maybe 30 minutes later, you change your mind, or you've thought of something different, or you've thought of a different idea. Look, I don't even know what I'm eating tonight for dinner. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2 years. I don't know what I'm going to do in 6 years. I don't know what I'm going to do in 6 months. I am not the type of person to I'm somebody that thinks, and I think there's a bunch of different opinions and there's a bunch of different ways of thinking. I'm not somebody that has one idea and is set on it for the next 6 years. Everybody's changed their mind. Everybody's had different ideas. Everybody's at some point liked something and then maybe later to realize that no, it's just human nature to change your mind sometimes. That's why I get you guys have articles to write of these questions, but I know sometimes questions aren't the answers to these questions aren't as easy as just yes or no.
I'll say this. I thought that was one of his better answers, and I know it wasn't maybe what everyone wanted to hear, but there is some truth into that, and that was why I don't think we can completely close the door on a potential long-term stay, but I think it would be a heavy underdog right now if we were doing our cool bet line. And this was a question from Jeff Hamilton, which I think is important to mention because, it has to be part of the equation. The fact that the Jets did have a real tough season last year, and I think there's a lot of questions even still right now, late July, as to how this team is going to look going forward. And certainly I didn't think it was a great time for the Jets to be in an advantageous situation with signing a player with 2 years left to a long-term deal. The good thing is there's time and certainly a lot of options for Cheveldayoff. But here's Jeff Hamilton, who was the final English question, who was asking him about potentially not wanting to sign, not to have anything to do with the organization or the team, but just where the team is at and what they went through last year.
When you look at what the Winnipeg Jets did last season or didn't do, and when you look at the headlines they've made throughout the offseason, I think it's fair to ask, why would anybody want to sign long-term with the Winnipeg Jets? I'm wondering how much of last year, what you went through as a team last year, or maybe more importantly, what you hope to see this year with the Winnipeg Jets is playing in the position of why you haven't decided to sign long-term with this team.
No, I think the group is a great group of guys. I think the organization's a great organization. Since I've been there, I've been treated with nothing but respect. My first year there was, for my standards, awful. And they didn't give up on me. They didn't make me feel like I was a disappointment. They didn't make me feel like anything bad. They supported me. They showed confidence in me, even though I didn't deliver the first season. And then last year, I thought I improved, and I think I can improve again. So, I don't see it like that. I just think that, this next deal might be for the rest of my career. I might retire with this. I just turned 24 years old. I look at myself from 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I'm a completely different person. It's a major decision, and I want to be sure to make the right one. And it has nothing to do with stuff like that. It sometimes, you make a decision not because you hate something, you don't like something. Sometimes it's just because you have something else in your mind. But I think the group that we have is a great group. I love the guys. I can't wait to see them. I'm going to go down to Michigan to see some guys this summer and skate with a few of them, and before I show up to camp. But I'm excited for this season.
All right, so there's a little bit more Pierre-Luc Dubois from earlier today.